Welcome back to Bay Area Focus. This morning we are talking pain and how to deal with it. We're talking about The Pain Companion. It's a new book written by Sarah Schockley. Thank you so much for joining us here, Sarah.
Glad to be here.
So for pain, you're I guess, an expert on pain. How did it start for you, and why did you decide to write this book?
I'm certainly an expert on living with pain, that's for sure. It started in the fall of 2007. I was diagnosed with something called thoracic outlet syndrome. It's a collapse up in this area of the body. It's extremely painful and debilitating. Mine came from computer use. I'm almost 6 feet tall, and I was working on a very small keyboard, you know, like a mini keyboard. So over time, this area collapsed. And it creates a great deal of nerve pain and debilitation. It's hard to use the arms and the hands, and it goes up into the neck and eventually goes through the body. So for me, I had a very extreme version of this. Some people can use physical therapy to improve it. When I worked with physical therapy, it just made it worse. So I was left with not much help medically. And the medications that I was given didn't help either. They had really severe side effects.
And that's the first thing a lot of Americans do when they have pain. They decide to go to medication. Yeah,
absolutely, and that's what doctors do with us too. I mean, that's the first thing we think of when we're in pain. We think, let's stop it. Obviously, you know, we don't like it, and we want it to end. But I think that's one of the ways that we're actually prolonging pain in our lives. The way that we approach it is to start by ending it, which may sound unusual thing to say because, of course, we don't want to live with pain.
So how did you change the approach then?
Well, for me, since the medications didn't work and the treatments didn't work, I was left pretty much to my own devices. And I did work with, you know, I would try everything that came along, different physical therapies and alternative approaches over the first year, and then I discovered all of them pretty much made things worse. So I had to let go of the outer ways of dealing with pain, our normal physical ways of dealing with pain. And I discovered that fighting it, you know, the way that we get, like, I'm going to get through this and I'm going to fight it and I'm going to get to the other side of this, that didn't work for me at all, because tension in the body, I think this is true for a lot of people in pain, when you're fighting it, you're tense. You know, you're clamping down on the pain, trying to stop it. You restrict your breathing. Creates more stress, almost trying to muscle through it. And some things, you know, in short-term pain, you have a sprained ankle. You know, sometimes you can just move through the pain and keep going, but not always. So I found that I had to learn to be very, very different with the pain in my body.
And different being in how? Give us some specifics as to how you did it. I heard in the book that you would actually write letters.
Yeah, I started thinking, well, what can I do? Because I couldn't exercise. Walking was the only thing I could do to exercise. I couldn't do physical manipulations, chiropractic, none of that stuff worked. So I went inward in the sense of, how do I deal with this pain? And began asking questions. What's it here for? Why is it still here after years? I mean, I'm doing all the right stuff. I'm taking care of myself. I've slowed down, but it's not leaving. And I had used journaling to deal with emotional pain in the past, or just trying to sort things through. So I thought, well, I don't know, maybe I can write the pain out of my body. And I had to write very slowly. I could barely hold a pen at the time. I had to use a very fat felt tip pen, and I couldn't hardly bend my neck.
Or what would you write?
Well, I started writing about how miserable it was to be with pain. I really kind of yelled at pain for a while.
So it's therapeutic.
Yeah, it was very therapeutic. And also it showed me what was going on. You know, when we're in pain for a long time, or any length of time, our focus is on the pain itself, is on the physical aspect, the feeling of it. But we don't always...
You really felt that was helpful for you. You would suggest that to other people as well.
Oh yeah,
going
absolutely.
Through physical pain.
Absolutely, because when we focus mostly on the physical pain, we're not necessarily paying attention to the rest of us. So we're not just physical bodies. Obviously, we're spirits and we're minds and we're feelings. And by writing letters to pain, I would say, dear pain, why are you still here? What are you doing in my body anyway? You know, and that kind of thing. I noticed for myself what I was going through in a way that went way beyond just the physical pain. I noticed that pain had moved in and taken over my whole life. It had taken over my feelings about myself, taken over all of my relationships and how I was with my son. I was a single mom at the time, and it was hard to see that. But by writing this out, I witnessed myself in a sense. I read it back and went, wow, that was really hard.
And Sarah, what are some other ways that you dealt with it besides writing the letters to essentially quiet the pain?
Well, yeah, certainly I had to learn to be very, what I thought of as very zen, relaxing, kind of to relax around the pain and not be so angry with it. And by working in that way, I began to understand that pain wasn't just here to try to ruin my life. I mean, it was, after all, it's a signal. It's a messenger from the body. So I started to change the way I perceived pain, and thought, well, if fighting it doesn't work, what if I stop thinking of it as the enemy? And I had started to let pain write letters back to me in the sense of, okay, I'm going to pretend I'm pain. What's pain going to tell me? And it was saying, I'm not the enemy. I'm here to tell you something. I'm here to heal you. Oh, wow.
We have to kind of wrap it up in just a bit.
Yes.
But what are some other suggestions that you have for people who are dealing with pain, both physically and mentally?
Well, certainly to be aware of how it affects your whole life, and to not... a lot of what I talk about in my book is ways to find more well-being while we're working with pain. So to begin to pull back from the battlefield with pain and to work with it as an ally and a guide more than something to be fought with, and to not wait for pain to end before you re-enter life again, but to not to isolate so much, but to become re-engaged with life. I have a lot of ideas about that.
You're in a good place.
Yes.
All right. Sarah Schockley joining us here this morning. She's the author of The Pain Companion, Everyday Wisdom for Living with and Moving Beyond Chronic Pain. That is going to do it for this episode of Bay Area Focus this morning, but be sure to check out our Facebook page and our website. It is kpix.tv/BayAreaFocus.com. We hope you enjoy the rest of your morning, and we'll see you right back here next week. Have a great day.
Great. Thank you. That was great.